Wala, kapoy. Kapoy, walang tao. Tamad na ako. Narinig mo yun? Naglalaro yung isa sa labas. Ay, ikibak mo na barilan mo. Tapos kain. Yung libangan. Tapos kain, hugas pinggan siya. Magwalis. Magpunas. Kain sa kuring. Tapos maglaro. Ako, pagod ako. Kanto pa kare. Sakit pa ako. Higa din ako dito. Maglalaro lang naman yan kung nahiga ako dito. Alam mo, nagpapahinga ako. Kaya, hindi kasi ako nakapag-live kaninang umaga. Sayang din naman. Mga pailan-ilan na views. Wala lang tao. Pabalik din naman yan. Hindi lang ngayon. Babalik din yan. Minsan 1 week yan eh. Wala pang 1 week sa akin. Mga araw na rin. Mga 3 days na rin yata o 4 days na. Mga 4 days na yata. Wala. Bagsak na eh. Oo. Yan. Hina pa signal. Usap kami niya nagjuan sa text kasi yung afam niya nag-file ng divorce tapos lumaban yung babae. Parang ayaw pumayag sa offer. Ganun. Tapos uuwi, pakasal, tapos babalik trabaho. Tapos uuwi ulit, tapos magtrabaho 2 beses pa daw babalik-balik doon para magtrabaho. Tuwing pinaka-off lang niya saka siya pupunta ng Pilipinas. Ganun. Amin, malayo pa katotohanan. At least nalaman ko na. Tsaka na lang iintindihin. Wala pa nga kaming kapira-pira. Ayaw naman niya pumayag na ayaw naman niya ng walang kasal. Kaya magkagasto talaga ng malaki para lang maayos ang papel. Pag-iipunan. Para maayos yung papel. Hindi man sa ngayon, baka sa mga taon pa lumipas. Malay mo. Diba? Kaysa wala kang ginawa. Pag hindi mo pinail, wala kang ginawa. O di wala kang hintayin. Kailangan i-file mo para may aantayin. Kung maayos. Nawala na sila Humina siguro ako. Sa signal yan, kumbaga, kapag walang signal, hindi ba nakakaboilo yung live. Distribute sa mga country. Tapos yung mga country ngayon may gira-gira pa. May gira-gira pa. Grabe na talaga itong yung channel ko wala talaga siya kahit naman baguhin ko yung thumbnail, wala pa rin. Nabutan ko na yan. Pero hindi pa talaga na sumubok ako ng bongga. Hindi pa ako gumawa talaga ng as-in thumbnail na basta dito try ko sa kapila. Kasi dito sa kabila parang may tao-tao dito. Diyan wala na talagang tao. Dito yung parang man ninyo magsikilak-alakan.
Over 3,000 years ago, an unstoppable storm swept across the lands surrounding the Mediterranean. Cities that had once thrived were reduced to ashes. Kingdoms, once
Natuyo ako.
centers of trade,
Lagay ko rin yung isa o dalawa na yun.
vanished one by one as if they had never existed. In the few surviving
Hello,
records,
how are
phrase
you?
appears again and again. Invaders and
I'm
the
good
sea.
here.
Who were they? The ancients called them the sea
Napuyat
peoples.
ako.
Mysterious warriors
Kagabi kasi may gulo
their
kagabi
ships,
kaya napuyat
wielding
ako.
weapons no one had ever seen, speaking a language no one could
Gawa ng
understand.
tinansyip ko yung mga apo ko ba ako. Iiyakan kasi. Iiyakan ang bata.
Strangely, even today, we know very little about them.
Grabe naman yung signal, guys.
Obscure their motives,
Guys, ang signal, guys. Grabe na guys.
seemingly erased from history.
Wala mag-address ng signal
All we
natin,
know
guys.
comes from the records of those who faced them.
Tapos guys, tulog ako, guys.
Waves of migrants
May
forced to abandon
signal, wala ang tao.
pirates.
Walang signal, walang tao.
More than 3,000
Bakit
years
walang tao?
past,
Kasi walang signal.
archaeologists still search for scattered clues. Historians still debate endlessly. And perhaps somewhere, beneath the sands of time, the truth remains hidden about one of the greatest mysteries in human history. This is the story of the sea peoples, and of an age that plunged into the shadows of oblivion. Tonight, join bedtime history as we follow the trail of nameless ships, unknown warriors, and forgotten chapters of history, to uncover the story that has never been fully told, the story of the sea peoples, who they once were, and why their shadow continues to haunt human history to this very day. To understand why the arrival of the sea peoples sent such shockwaves through the ancient world, we must first imagine what the Mediterranean looked like before the crisis. A world of connection, prosperity, and profound fragility. Between the 14th and 13th century BC,
Be my
the Mediterranean
lady.
and the Near East entered an era
Come and
of
take my
unprecedented
hand.
development. Civilizations across the
Lady.
region were thriving not only in
Oh, may
economic
tao sa
and
kabila,
technological
oh.
terms, but were deeply
Laban,
interconnected through vast
laban.
networks of trade
Laban
and
lang,
diplomacy.
laban lang.
To the south, Egypt's new kingdom
Laban
and
lang,
pharaohs such as
kapatid.
Thutmose III, Amenhotep III, and Seti I
Oh my God.
monumental temples rose along the banks of the Nile.
Yung pakiramdam ko na parang
King's immense wealth
naantok na
and
parang
endless ambition.
bumibila ako.
Egyptian merchant ships
Habang
sailed
maghalo-halo
to
yung
distant ports,
pakiramdam.
bringing back prized
Naantok,
seafood
na
from
nangangalay, na
from
nanginina.
Cyprus, and precious stones and exotic spices from the legendary land of Punt. To the north, across the Anatolian plateau, the Hittite Empire emerged as a formidable power. From their well-fortified capital, Susa, they controlled vital trade routes linking the Near East and the Balkans. The Hittites were not only skilled warriors, but also master diplomats, leaving behind extensive archives of diplomatic correspondence that reveal a sophisticated world of commerce and negotiation. To the west, Mycenaean civilization dominated the Greek homeland with fortified centers such as Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos. These were powerful city-states capable of mobilizing large forces, known for their advanced metallurgy, and an elite class that lived in opulent palaces. From Greece, Mycenaean merchant ships spread across the Mediterranean, trading wine, ivory, pottery, and weapons. To the east, the port cities of the Levant, Ugarit, Byblos, and Sidon served as crucial links in this regional trade network. Ugarit, in particular, flourished as a vibrant center of commerce calculated the foundation of mineral stress was water. Further south, the land of Canaan, which will later witness the rise of new peoples, was a region rich with potential and under the sway of great empires. Its inhabitants actively participated in coastal trade, supplying valuable goods to larger markets. What bound all of these centres together was not just military power or wealth, but an intricate trade network spanning sea routes and overland economies. On large ships, essential materials, especially copper and tin for making bronze, moved continuously. Archaeologists have uncovered shipwrecks like the INAANTOK off the coast of modern Turkey, its cargo packed with treasures from across the ancient world, a vivid testament to the deep economic integration of the time. Yet this very interdependence was also a fatal weakness. When trade routes were disrupted, when a single link in the chain was broken, the entire system could unravel in cascading collapse.
Where's my?
Many of the
Ooh,
examples
I have 5 viewers. The other one is I have 33 viewers. Okay, go go go.
no one could have foreseen that within a few short decades, an unfamiliar force from across the sea could shake this entire order to its core, triggering one of the greatest collapses in the history of human civilization. At the heart of this
Hello,
collapse was
27.
an intricate and far-reaching trade
Why?
network,
Why
a system
27?
on which
Everything
every
is under
civilization in the
control.
region depended,
Ang grabe ito
hand
sa
in
kabila.
hand as
Wala
an
na talaga,
thread
oh.
that bound their fates together. Imagine a ship leaving the port of Ugarit on a calm day.
Maligo ako,
On its
guys.
deck,
Maligo,
barrels packed with
guys.
valuable copper, the prized metal mined on the
Tapos,
island of Cyprus,
kung saan?
famed for its rich copper deposits. Alongside the copper are rare ingots of tin, perhaps sourced from Anatolia or from more distant lands such as the Caucasus or even the British Isles, regions that required long and perilous trade routes to bring their metals to the Mediterranean. The alloy of copper and tin, bronze, was the essential material for weapons, armor, tools, and even intricate jewelry. Without bronze, the military and economies of the great empires would falter. This was the rub of the age. This ship carried valuable metals. On board were also cedar logs from the mountain forests of Lebanon, prized wood used to build warships, grand palace beams, and the coffins of the elite. There was also gold from Nubia, gemstones from Sinai, aromatic resins from the Arabian Peninsula, and purple dye extracted from sea snails, highly coveted by Eastern Roman courts. Ships like this connected Egypt, the Levant, Anatolia, Greece, and the islands of the Aegean. In Hattusa, the Hittites imported horses and tin while exporting early iron goods and fine textiles. In Mycenae, treasures unearthed from royal tombs reveal artifacts from as far as Cyprus, Egypt, and the Near East.
Hello, 20 viewers. Maligo muna ako, guys. Sobrang init, guys.
Each merchant and each ship was a
Diyan
tie
tayo,
link
ha?
in this vast network. And the network was not only a channel for goods, it was also a highway for ideas, technologies, religions, and languages. The early alphabets of Ugarit, advanced metallurgy techniques, and even ancient myths all travelled across the sea with these trading expeditions. Yet this deep interdependence also left these civilizations more vulnerable than ever. When tin supplies were blocked, when trade routes were disrupted by pirates or war, the consequences were not just of a single commodity, but the potential unraveling of entire economic systems. When looking back at this period, we can not overlook the unique role of the Bronze Age. One of the key foundations that had built the province world in the East had become in crisis. Why bronze? And why would an entire area depend so heavily on this single alloy? At the time, iron had not yet been successfully smelted on a large and reliable scale. Bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, was the strategic material of the age. It was used to forge swords, spears, arrowheads, armor, as well as the essential tools of agriculture and construction. Without Near East. To maintain steady supply, civilizations established long and complex trade routes.
Trying to find something I didn't know there was a ladder there.
Copper was mined on Cyprus,
Want me to
a
get it
Europe's
closed down?
largest production centre. But tin, much rare, had to be imported from distant regions. Some sources came from Anatolia or mountainous areas to the east. Some scholars even propose that part of the tin supply travelled as far away as Central Europe or the British Isles through intricate and perilous trade networks. For this reason, the great powers of the age were forced into mutual dependence to maintain their military and economic strength. No single kingdom possessed all the resources needed to operate independently in this shared system. This created a world where international connections were not optional, they were essential. The pharaohs of Egypt maintained skillful diplomatic relations with the Hittite kings. The Mycenaean city-states sought control over key maritime routes. Cities like Megara became vital hubs where merchants from across the known world met to trade goods and exchange information. We know this not only through archaeology but also thanks to significant diplomatic correspondence, such as the clay tablets from Empire which show kings sending each other gold, copper, horses, artisans, and even royal family members to strengthen alliances. With such deep dependence came with a double edge. If one link of the chain broke, if a tin source ran dry, if a trade route was blocked by war or piracy, the entire system was at risk of cascading collapse. Modern scholars often compare the Bronze Age to an early form of global economy. And like any global economy, it functioned smoothly when all parts worked in harmony, but was frighteningly fragile in the face of sudden shocks. At the time, few could have imagined that such shocks were already silently building. But when they finally struck, the entire world order of the Bronze Age would collapse faster than anyone had ever thought possible. But no matter how skillful the ancient kings were, and no matter how vast their trade networks, there were forces beyond human control. And the first signs of a deepening crisis began to appear, quietly, from nature itself. Modern climate research, combining data from ancient ice cores, tree ring analysis, and lakebed sediments, reveals that in the late 13th and early 12th centuries BCE, the Mediterranean and Near East experienced a period of severe climate instability. Prolonged droughts devastated crops, especially in regions heavily dependent on agriculture, such as Canaan, the Levant, and even parts of upper Egypt. Tree ring studies from Anatolia showed years of stunted growth, clear evidence of extended water shortages. In addition, sediment layers from lakes in the Levant revealed sharply reduced rainfall cycles, a pattern that coincides with periods of social unrest recorded in ancient texts. In an economy that relied heavily on agricultural output and imported grain shipped over sea routes, the great kingdoms began to feel mounting pressure. Food became scarce, prices soared, hunger spread through the countryside. The very regions that had long supplied soldiers and labourers to the royal ports. But nature's fury did not end there. Powerful earthquakes, now confirmed by fault-line evidence, and sudden structural collapses at archaeological sites struck down key cities. Ugarit, Hattusa, Mycenae, and many other centres show signs of earthquake destruction, either just before or during waves of violent attacks. Walls crumbled not from battle, but from the force of the earth itself. Storehouses were buried, once majestic temples reduced to ruins. In a world where the king's authority was tied to his ability to protect his people from the forces of nature, such disasters dealt a profound psychological blow. Beyond the physical evidence, surviving diplomatic letters also offer a vivid glimpse into the mood of the time. From clay tablets excavated at Ugarit, we read desperate pleas for help, reports of food shortages, civil unrest, and streams of migrants fleeing drought-stricken lands. These messages reveal a world cracking from within, an interdependent system that once nature was thrown into chaos, struggled to maintain any semblance of stability. It was in this context, the food supplies dwindled, natural disasters struck, and social tensions simmered, that the sea peoples would emerge. But were they the cause of this collapse, or simply an inevitable result of a world that went unraveling? That question, even today, remains unanswered. But perhaps the clearest picture of a world coming undone is not found in the cracks in the earth, but in the trembling words etched into small clay tablets. Letters of desperation exchanged between kings, now unearthed from the ruins of the city of Ugarit. At the time, Ugarit was a thriving commercial hub on the coast of the Levant, serving as a vital crossroads in the region's economic network. The city was not only wealthy but also remarkably advanced in administration and writing. Here, archaeologists have uncovered more than 1,000 inscribed clay tablets recording transactions, treaties, and diplomatic correspondence. Among them are letters that still send a chill down the spine when read today. One letter, sent by the King of Ugarit to the King of Cyprus as enemy forces closed in, reads, "The enemy is at the gates. My city is in dire straits. Send reinforcements and food at once, if possible. If not, I fear that Ugarit will not be able to hold out." Those simple, desperate words reflect a world once accustomed to trade and diplomatic ceremony, now thrust into a fight for survival. The letters also reveal the disruption of the trade system itself. In one message to the King of Palashia, Cyprus, the King of Ugarit complains that merchant ships can no longer dock because strange pirates have appeared off the coast, and laments that copper and tin, once reliably delivered, have failed to arrive. Taken together, these scattered details reveal a regional economy once running smoothly, now grinding to a halt. And as trade routes broke down, military and food supplies across the kingdoms quickly plunged into crisis. What is particularly striking is how the tone of these letters shifts over time. In earlier tablets, one finds formal greetings, invitations to exchange gifts, royal marriage negotiations, all reflecting a world of confident, prosperous rulers. But in the final letters from Ugarit, written just before the city was destroyed, confidence is broken. In its place, kings heavily and good. Kings who once saw themselves at the pinnacle of power were reduced to raising desperate appeals as vulnerable as any. And then one day, Ugarit fell. When archaeologists uncovered these tablets, many were still sitting on the rising tables in the sun. Those final letters, underwood, remain a vivid testament to a world on record. In every line that seems to play, you can still feel the breath of a dying world. And it was at this very moment that the sea peoples began to emerge from the shadows as agents, with as symbols, and the end of once glorious age. It is hard to imagine that just a few years before those desperate kings were hastily ensconced on their tablets, the cities of the Mediterranean still basked in an atmosphere of rare prosperity and confidence. Ugarit, for example, was not only a bustling seaport but also a major cultural centre. In the poems of the Johnson papers, gold, silk jewelry, and intricately crafted rings illustrated everywhere. Evidence of a wealthy past that lacked beauty and spared no expense in decorating their lives. Merchant ships came and went from power and constant flow. The markets bustled with silk, spices, pilgrims, and precious metals from across the known world. And the buildings, skilled artisans depicted images of gods and ancient legends, their art reflecting a vibrant, self-assured culture. But also, the capital of the Hittite Empire was no less magnificent. Its temples and massive gates were built from colossal Aristocracy's life revolved around grand palaces where pretty frescoes covered the walls, portraying hunting scenes, rituals, and daring sea voyages. Mycenaean warriors, clad in gleaming bronze armor, paraded in festivals, proudly honoring the strength and traditions of their people. Even ordinary citizens, though not wealthy, benefited from this prosperous, globally connected economy. They wore fine fabrics, used better household goods, and had access to luxury items once reserved for the elite. In religious ceremonies, solemn processions continued as usual. Priests offered the finest goods to the gods, not only to seek blessings, but also to display their city's wealth and power. And above all, what people likely felt most deeply was a profound faith in the stability of their royal leader. Kings proudly carved their victories and distant treaties into stone. Merchants eagerly invested in long sea voyages. People lived with the belief that their world, and with all its complexity and brilliance, would endure for generations to come. No one imagined that in just a few short years it would all be reduced to ash. Mighty fortresses would burn, trade routes would be severed, the joyful sounds of festivals would be replaced by desperate cries echoing across the land.
Maganito. Marami sila kapag ulan eh. Inscriptions praising his victories alongside accounts of triumphs over evil, measured triumphs in the West, there appears a seemingly small detail, one that would open the door to one of the greatest mysteries of ancient history. The inscription reads, Canaan has been founded, Ashkelon has been captured, Gaza has been seized, Ramallah has ceased to exist, and Israel is laid waste, its sea is no more. And Shurda, Shekelash, Ekdesh, Lukan, and Teresh, those who came from the distant sea, have been defeated, no longer a threat to the land of Egypt. These names, Shurda, Shekelash, Ekdesh, Lukan, and Teresh, would later become key clues as we trace the path of the sea peoples. What stands out is how these groups are described. Came from the distant sea, a phrase that is both specific and shrouded in mystery. No earlier Egyptian records had ever mentioned these peoples. They did not belong to the traditional clans Egypt was accustomed to confronting. Modern scholars believe these were migrating groups or area alliances, moving for the first time on the historical stage, just as climate and social upheavals were intensified.
It's also worth noting that Egyptian kings were highly deliberate in how they recorded their victories. The fact that these unknown groups from the sea were mentioned in an official inscription such as the Merchant Stele suggests that the conflicts were rather significant enough to warrant inclusion in the annals of history. A sign that the sea people's presence was no longer minor, but the simultaneous mention of pagan cities being destroyed in the same passage indicates that these seaborne groups were not only clashing with Egypt, but were also impacting the wider Mediterranean region. The fragile trade systems and political alliances were already under strain. In these few lines alone, you can already sense a new wave of instability rising. The unbelievable mighty pharaohs moved to Europe. As we shall see, this was only the beginning. In the years to come, these groups would not limit themselves to coastal raids. They would organize into large migratory forces, bringing with them families, women, children, and their wealth pushing deep into fertile lands, reshaping the entire political and economic landscape of the region for the centuries that followed. What was carved into the mountains of stone still echoes to us across time. The world that once seemed unshakable is on the brink of its greatest upheaval. If the inscriptions on the Merchant Stele were the first warning of the sea people's presence, then less than 3 decades later, the entire Egyptian world would face the full force of the storm they unleashed. Around 1175 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Ramesses III, Egypt entered one of the most decisive battles in its history. A battle we can vividly picture today thanks to the detailed reliefs carved on the walls of the Medinet Habu temple in Thebes. Those images, more than 3,000 years old, still remain, sharp and striking, as if etched only yesterday. Within them, you see clearly an enormous force from across the sea, bringing not only wealth, but entire migrating communities, women, children, wagons loaded with possessions, as if they sought not simply to plunder, but to claim new lands for themselves. According to Ramesses III's inscriptions, this coalition of sea peoples included 7 groups: the Petra, Shepesh, Penaim, and Reshesh, names that remain the subject of much scholarly debate today, as researchers continue to search for their true origins. The reliefs show that the sea people's fleets were largely ships of the royal sailors. Their warriors were distinctly formed of powerful helmets, many of which had
Hapon.
unfamiliar weapons.
Kamusta na
Clear
kamuda?
evidence that they were not disorganized raiders, but a force deliberately prepared for battle. Ramesses III anticipated this confrontation. He stationed
Moving.
ambush forces along the shores and deployed Egyptian warships across the Nile branches and riverbanks, strategic checkpoints the sea peoples would have to cross to advance inland. When the battle
Wala na karon kung normal na iya mga test dara, mga kwan niya. Ang baga ang baga kang heart wala ta mahimo sina kundi maintenance na na iya. Ang iya iron na lang kag ang iban nga ano tani mag normal.
Those who came from the sea and flowed back into the sea, they lie scattered in the sky. None remain to carry war.
Kay kung i-discharge sila kamo nga may diferensya pa dito nga hindi mag normal. Makita man to sa record. Nya, makita to sa record niya. Ang problema sina is kung ang pasyente makadto na pud sa lain na ano tapos amo to iya record. Maambal nga nga agin pagguwa nga amo sina record niya. Hindi man di ay maayo ang record, hindi pagguwa. Buti ano natabo sa pasyente. O pwede nyo basulon kung ano mo na. Amo na ilang likayan kay kwaon ba nila hindi ba na sila naman sa lisensya nila masuspended ba na sila. Kaya hindi maayo pagbulong nila. Ginagalikayan ilang po na ginagawa nila nga trabaho ko. Ilang po na Wala na trabaho bang na amligan ila record. Nami kayong artist o. Huwag din ako masungkit ba? Ilayo kayo siya o. Wala kabilog na. Kaon na ako ng isa. Naluto na nami. Nakito ko naman ito. Bilog-bilog. Sana lang kabilog. Hindi mo isa lang ko. Ay, kuha na bilog nila. Unahan ko. Kano ato sa buwa. Miyo dito na mian na siya basta arang mga kabataan mo. Arang mga kabataan daw. Sa Piyak Balay. Dito po siya. Pero wala siya kapalapit. Mga akig mga karang pungko. Bira ka lang pungko. Tantawon mo lang sila. Yan siya ako. Kumuha na ba kung isang sinalay? Karoon lang ay matulog ko anay. Mga hinalay, mapiod na po kami na doon. Karoon na lang sa hapon ako. Pag-music, ano yun? Ano ba yung sa TV? Nagkadto na po sa buwa. Adugay, gitsang ano ni Kano ang sa iya nga pension. Kasi mag-abot na balahaw kay. Mag-abot niya pension mga isa lang ka-basis na siya mag-siya pension. Kada bulan na akong maumpisahan na ba? Hindi kami problema sa kwarta. Isa niya kabulan na pension gusto ko sa probinsya. Hindi ko na maurot. Isang buwan na lang ganit na gusto ko sa probinsya. Diba? Nagkaon mo pasyente te? Uy. Nagkaon? Si Mamang? Tapos, inom siya bulong niya. Why na siya nagsuka? Why, masuka lagi na siya, kung di siya kalibang. Gani, kung nakapamusuon siya tani adlaw-adlaw, mayo tani, kaya para hindi siya masuka. Gadulhog ang bulong ba? Gadulhog. Ang problema, kasi ginatubol siya. May tani na kuwan ng mga kaon doon silang mga patubig-tubig para kapalibang siya. Amo po nakisa, pag hindi mag-release ang ano si Etian, gadako po di Etiel, gabara ba? Gulang naman with mama. Gusto na kayo pag gulang na eh. Hindi si Kano, ano guro ni siya pag si Tinta na eh. Si Tinta 5, ambal ko siya iya pag magamon na edad mo, tani may kuha na tahaw, may kwarta na kita nga natipon para sa imo. Kaya gusto ko, permente ka may check up, mga every 6 months check upon ka para mabalaan kung okay, balay mo dugo, ang tanan sa imo, okay. Bahala kung sige lang ito pa check up yan, bahala da. Basta kayo mag-check up ka lang para sigurado ang imo nga. Kuhan. Kaya bisan amo lang na nga niwangon kag ano kung maayo lang lawas niya, okay lang na iya. Diba te? Wala na yung problema siya niwang nga tao basta nga wala kang wala sa mga sakit-sakit. Gawang ko pa yung kisa kaya hindi makapamusuon do ka adlaw. Bakla na po na ako siya kuhan, protas. Alibang na siya. Yawang ko pa yung ayong kisa. Sinong kaso yung ginabantayan niya? Oxygen dito? Oh, dula. Ito yung butang nila sa ano. Sige na, tulog ka na dira. Nag-check lang ko kung ano ka muna. Ito yung gani ko, may gabi, nagbata ko, kulugot sa ila. Nita ko diri sang inugra lampos, tani, way, hindi ko sumakitaan, di sulod balay, uy. Ma-order guro ko sang hinaniban ako namin ipang lampos sa ulo nila balagwa kung mag-one sila house. Tapos ablag ka kaubot, magpubaya ko nga hindi ko parati ba. Ang bala nila kung anugay ko kuno ugtas. Wala ko ga ugtas, gasaway lang ko. Ay hindi tama ginihimo nila. Saway na iya hindi na ugtas. Lain tong ugtas, lain tong saway. Kung magkuha ng apo ko, nagre-rebe kagabi inatid ko. Inahadlok sila mo. Muna nagre-rebe, inahadlok. Afrikano ya kay tulog-tulugan na. Ambal niya sa akon sang aga. Ti nag-ano ka sa guwa nga ano siya ano to natabo. Kung nagrenaway sila dito ko nagkadto ko dito. Siya ikaw tigindala, since tigindala mo lang ang yabi ko, tigindala mo lang ang yabi. Ano ang yabi na? Ang yabi. Kita ka pa sa tao nga lagid ka mo. Well, pag nagreklamo, kung makakao siya, okay na. Yung na natira. Ang lapusun. Away do kasarang bala away haw. Isog mo wala sa lugar. May mga isog na punta na. Ito wala yung isog wala nagahod yan. Diretso na yan. Ilang mga bana? Ara, dahil? Bibi bana, yung wala man na problema yung bana ni Bibi. Huwag may gamos sila. Sino kiniing dugo ng bana? Reggie lang bago niya bana. Hindi. Ate mo, kasi ko nga. Dogin kay atong unay na bana. Ininisan niya buang. Siya gani ang buang. Hindi ko alam maintindihan kundi ng kadto ng espiritu niya. Resa, bana lang sang duwa ko kabata nga, sige kasi nasapak. Naghoy, hindi sige ko sapak. Ang mga banga apo ko yakay. Gaomid mo po rebe. Kung ano kayo nahadlok, mag sila sang away, God. Adlok tong duwa ka apo ko magrinaway gabi pating hibi. Ngakig ko, may nagun siya lang tani, bayaan ko. Ulang naman siya. Dayo na hibi yang maglinalagan de. Hadlok sila, na trauma na sila baga, parang hihi sila panty ng hadlok. May padaan si Diana, gamay po si Diana, 4 katuig. Si GD 7. Way manyagamos na yung bana ni Bibi ya. Obra na itaro. Kaya Regil to yung nadakpan niya karon nga bag-o nga loko-loko gali. Damo kaso. Hambalang.
Amo gani nang ginapangita iya, amo na iya ginapangita.
Amo gani ginhambalan ko gani ang ginikana, nagadto ko dito kag ginaduwa kami ni Junjun. Hambal ko, siling ko, gindawat ko siya kay man, hambal niya, mabinutaan siya. Kay nakakabati ko nga amo na amo to. Karon tagaan ko siya pabor nga magbinutan siya. Ay ti kay amo naman ang ginihimo niya liwat. Ay hindi na ako magdawat sa iya, hambalan ko to ginikanan niya. Hindi na ako magdawat sa iya. Hindi na ko gusto nga dito pa siya nga mag-star. Mangita siya sang balay nga gusto niya. Hindi ko. Kaya ang mga apo ko makaluluoy.
Kung maupod hindi si Rachel,
At yung maupod siya, bahala siya. Nga muna, obra niya sa una, upod-upod. Hindi, balaan niya na nga daan. Doon na humasmasa na siya subong kay ginhambalan siya sang barangay kagina nga. Ina ang imo ginakaupod. May sala na, nakagawa lang na sa bal mo lang na nga hindi ka tapos karon nara na. Nara naman.
oras siling. May alam siya puro gaga.
Amo gani kuti gumitin mo naman ang utak mo ti. Huwag mong isipin nga ang imo lang yung ka ugalingon kay may mga bata ka nga gagmay. Kung ano matabod akong gadalaga na yung gapit na magdakon yung bata, yung ano naglakat ka, igo mo balikon, may bata mo ya mo na abo. Uy, giklaro. Karon, niya pa huway ko karon wala na akong anay silang ano para makapaminsar tarong. Wala na akong anay ginkantuan dito. Pero ang ginamonitor ko man na sila dito sa tindahan kay may CCTV man ako dito. Nagaunay di sa ako. Nakita ko man sila kung ano ginabuhat nila dito. Dito ni gatubang ang CCTV ari di sa akong cellphone. Nakita ko dito kung may mga tao, kung damo gani tao gahambal ko diri oh. Nga daw kadamo na naman sa mga tao da sa kuan. Galinayas na sila basta maghambal di. Hindi naman. O wala. Wala tao. Ariyo. Na, makitaan ko man na dire. Kung pertahan sang balay dito sa ubos. Wala tao nakakandado. Nasaan kaya sila? Yung ara sila sa sulod. What? Hindi nakakandado. Sino mga yan dyan? Oh, makita ko. Mabalaan ko pag kung sino kakadto dito, mabalaan ko ganyan may damo ka sinulod. Gisinggit ko sa ano balian nila tananda. Sa kamera. Ano oras na ko natulog kagabi kay gilantap. Alas 2 bala ko, alas 3 na to. Kaya mata ko late na. Una man namatay ang isa. Kungko na siya dito. Kaya man na siya dahil ko pamahaw kay una niya na iya inom kape. Kape yan na inom niya. Umahaw kami alas 9 na. Amon pa niya ako. Late na. Tulog siya? Ha? Sige siya panguyab, di ba? Kita mo? Pag magpungko siya, sige siya panguyab. Gamo na oh. Kita mo, gamo na. Ano man na? Ha? Gahanga ka sa kasigasin niya siguro. Amo na sitwasyon ni Mamang, wa ita kabalo kung asa saan una. Wala man mahimo kay tigulang naman siya. Amo na ginatag sa iya nga kuan mo. Nga balatian. Ara man iban gani nga. Do kuan. Iban lain-lain lang magyan sa tigulang ah. Ara iban nga hindi na makaistorya. Di ba? Nga mo lang na. Itulog na na eh. Kay matulog po ko rin oh. Karoon tayo nuwi-dugay istorya.
The Hittite Empire not only controlled vast territories stretching from Anatolia to the Levant, but also stood as Egypt's chief rival in international treaties and warfare. The city of Hattusa was built across a vast expanse, fortified by massive stone walls, monumental carved gates, and anchoring royal palaces. Within its archives, archaeologists have uncovered more than 30,000 clay tablets documenting every aspect of Hittite life: law, diplomacy, religion, war. And then, around 1200 to around 90 BCE, Hattusa is suddenly abandoned. Archaeological excavations reveal widespread signs of destruction and fire across the city. But here lies the mystery. There is no direct evidence that the sea peoples attacked Hattusa. At least, no Egyptian records mention such an assault. But the timing is too striking to ignore. The abandonment of Hattusa occurred precisely during the period when the sea peoples were sweeping across the Mediterranean as the international system of alliances and trade crumbled all around them. Some scholars suggest that after devastating the coastal centres, the sea peoples may have indirectly triggered internal unrest within the already weakened Hittite Empire. An empire reeling from public policies, drought, and conflicts with mountain tribes. The final royal letters from the Hittite archives carry a desperate tone, filled with pleas for aid sent from the Hittite king to vassals and allies, eerily similar to the final letters from Bulgaria we encountered earlier. What is certain is this: Hattusa was never rebuilt after its abandonment. The Hittite Empire, once equal to Egypt, vanished from the historical map, giving way to an era of chaos in which small kingdoms and migrating peoples came to dominate much of Anatolia. What truly happened in Hattusa's final days? Did the sea peoples directly assault the city, or did their ruler impact, through the collapse of trade networks and the spread of instability, push the empire into an irreversible crisis? No one can say for sure. But the timing, combined with evidence of broken trade links and a swaying wave collapse, suggests that the shadow of the sea peoples surely loomed over the end of Hattusa, whether by force or by consequence. That shadow will continue to spread as we follow on a trail to other cities of the dying Bronze Age world. As Hattusa lay silent in its ashes, the wave of crisis did not stop in Anatolia. It swept westward across the Aegean Sea and struck at the very heart of the Mycenaean world, the Greek civilization of the Bronze Age. The Mycenaean civilization, renowned for its cities like Mycenae, Chios, Tyre, and Thebes, was one of the Aegean's most powerful commercial and military forces. Its fortified palaces, towering Cyclopean walls, and the countless treasures discovered in royal tombs reveal a society both prosperous and sophisticated. The Mycenaean system of rule centered around great palace complexes, where the king, the one, controlled the economy, military, religious rights, and diplomacy. Their trade routes stretched across the Mediterranean, exchanging goods with Egypt, Levant, and Anatolia. And yet, by the late 13th to early 12th century BCE, one Mycenaean city after another began to fall. At Mycenae, excavations revealed thick layers of ash covering architectural remains, clear signs of an intense city-wide fire. Granaries, armories, and residential quarters all show evidence of simultaneous destruction. Chios, one of the largest administrative centres of the Mycenaean world, met a similar fate. At the palace of Nestor, clay administrative tablets were hardened in the blaze, which is why archaeologists can still read them today. Yet, ironically, one of the final tablets records orders to mobilize defensive troops and prepare warships, suggesting the attack came swiftly, as the city was still organizing its defenses. At Tiryns, one of the strongest Mycenaean fortresses, we find more of the same collapsed walls and scorched buildings. The entire palace system, once the backbone of Mycenaean power, collapsed within just a few decades. There was no striking and no signs of lasting reconstruction at these sites. The Mycenaean civilization, so dependent on its intricate palace network, was unable to recover. Some scholars argue that this destruction may have been driven by internal unrest or rebellion. But when we compare the timing of the Sea People's campaigns through the Levant and Egypt, and when we consider the royal Mycenaean records concerning naval defences, many believe that the Sea Peoples likely played a major role in the collapse, whether directly or indirectly. Moreover, in the wake of this destruction, the entire Mycenaean world entered a deep decline. The linear beanstalk used by the ruling class vanished. International trade collapsed. City-states fragmented, retreating into isolated small communities. It was from this point that Greece's so-called Dark Age began, a period that would last for centuries, until the Greek world rose again in the archaic and classical eras. As we look upon the charred walls and scorched tablets of Chios or Mycenae today, it is hard not to shudder. A civilization that once dominated the Aegean, that had challenged the great powers of the mainland, collapsed in a blaze of fire, taking with it the proud palace system that had defined its rule. And though the Sea Peoples are not always clearly named in Greek texts, their shadow remains. An unstoppable wave that swept across everything of its path. While the Mycenaean civilization faded across the Aegean to the east in the land of Canaan, the Sea Peoples left marks that would prove even more lasting than material destruction. Deep demographic and cultural changes whose traces can still be seen to this day. Canaan, stretching from the southern coast of the Levant northward toward Byblos, was once a prosperous region, with cities, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gaza, Giza, thrived as bustling trading hubs. The Canaanites built a rich culture, trading extensively with Egypt, the Hittites, and the Mycenaeans, serving as intermediaries along many of the Mediterranean's great maritime routes. But by the late 13th century BCE, archaeological evidence shows that a powerful wave of change swept through the region. Most notable among the Sea Peoples who settled here were the Petra, a group that modern scholars almost universally identify as the ancestors of the Philistines, famous in later history. The reliefs of them at Gabi depict the Palisades as one of the primary forces within the Sea Peoples' assault on Egypt. But unlike some other groups, the Palisades were not completely destroyed. A portion of them, after their defeat in Egypt, established permanent settlements along the coastal lands of Canaan. Excavations at sites such as Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gaza reveal a new layer of habitation, Palisade settlements in Canaan did more than shift the regional balance of power. It reshaped the demographic map of the Levant. The Canaanites did not disappear from the non-coastal areas. They were replaced or gradually assimilated by these new settlers. Archaeological evidence shows that the Philistines quickly built a strong economy, restored trade networks, and developed a unique cultural identity, blending their deep maritime origins with local influences. This reveals an important aspect of the Sea People's migrations. They were not solely agents of destruction, they were also builders. Some groups chose to settle, adapt, and contribute to the cultural fabric of the lands they entered, leaving marks that would endure for millennia. And so, while the cities of the Mycenaeans crumbled, while Hattusa and Megara became ruins, a new chapter was unfolding in Canaan, a chapter the Sea Peoples, through the Palisade, wrote with their very presence upon the land. But perhaps the most profound consequence of the Sea Peoples' wave of destruction was not the cities left in flames, but the collapse of a network that had once connected the entire ancient world, the intricate trade system of the Bronze Age, now shattered beyond repair. For nearly 2 centuries prior, civilizations across the Mediterranean had built a fledgling global economy, one in which vast maritime and overland trade routes linked Egypt, the Hittites, the Mycenaeans, Ugarit, Canaan, Cyprus, Anatolia, and even regions beyond. Copper and tin, the lifeblood of the Bronze Age, flowed through this system. Along with it came cedarwood, gold, silver, ivory, precious stones, fine textiles, wine, oil, and countless other rare and valuable goods. Merchant ships laden with cargo once glided across the Mediterranean like shuttles near the vast end of the globe, keeping the complex porous economies of Egypt, the Hittites, and the Mycenaeans running smoothly. But within just a few decades, the network collapsed entirely. Coastal trade routes were blockaded or severed by the fleets of the Sea Peoples. Once thriving port cities like Ugarit were reduced to ruins. The port of Byblos fell into decline. Archaeological, modern Cyprus, the key supplier of copper, was attacked and thrown into chaos. With the merchant fleets gone, the flow of copper and tin, essential for the production of weapons and tools, came to a halt. This triggered a domino effect. Without bronze, palace economies collapsed, unable to maintain military power or sustain their elite structures. Day tablets from Ugarit and Pylos revealed that even as destruction loomed, city officials were still desperately trying to organize convoys, request aid, and mobilize their naval forces. But it was all in vain. The trade routes had become too unstable. From that point, the ancient world quickly descended from order into chaos. International alliances unraveled. Diplomatic treaties, once carved in stone as eternal promises, became meaningless as partners either no longer existed or lacked the strength to fulfill their obligations. The palace-based economic system, which relied on a steady inflow of foreign goods, could not survive. Without trade, palaces collapsed. Aristocrats lost their power, artisans found themselves unemployed, populations were forced to revert to subsistence living, roads once bustled with commerce grew silent, warehouses once overflowing with goods stood empty, docks that had once echoed with the voices of merchants were left with crumbling walls and lonely, weathered always posts. For this reason, many historians describe this collapse as one of the earliest examples of the failure of globalization. A world once deeply interconnected, seemingly stable, proved astonishingly fragile in the face of sudden upheaval. And when the dust finally settled, the Mediterranean world, as it had been known, was no more. A new order, fragmented, localized, uncertain, arose in its place, ushering in a dark age that would take centuries for humanity to recover from. As the Mediterranean world descended into chaos, the question of the true origins of the Sea Peoples became ever more Senior groups were forced to leave their former centres in search of survival. Archaeological evidence shows that after the palace system fell, the population in the Peloponnesian plains declined sharply. Many coastal areas and Aegean islands, once bustling, were abandoned. At the same time, in new regions, such as the Levant coast and
Help level up your house with extra energy from Energon.
For me this time. It's not your first time living on the earth.
the past life you were. To test. A new layer of habitation board bearing clear Fijian cultural traits, particularly in pottery styles, architectural methods, and burial practices. Although that remained Denian, appearing in the sea people's lists, may be connected to Danabo, the term isn't used by the Greeks themselves to describe Mycenaean peoples. This has led many scholars to argue that some displaced Mycenaeans, rather than waiting to perish, joined with other sea peoples groups, forming armed migrant bands that fought and sought new lands. Yet this theory faces notable challenges. First, there is no direct evidence that the sea peoples who attacked Egypt spoke Greek or bore the distinct symbols of the Mycenaean kingdoms. Second, the cultural diversity among the sea peoples was immense, from the helmets of the shoulder to the round shields of the corset to weaponry and dress styles that varied greatly between groups. This suggests that if the Mycenaeans were involved, they were the final product of a far more complex alliance, not its dominant force. Furthermore, within Greece itself, archaeology shows that some Mycenaean communities did facilitate the crisis, especially in rural areas, uncertain moments. If the entire Mycenaean world was transformed into sea peoples, such strong cultural continuity within Greece might not have been so apparent. Finally, many researchers caution that creating the sea peoples from the Mycenaeans risks oversimplifying what was clearly a very complex world. Archaeological evidence indicates that the sea peoples included a mix of groups from Anatolia, the Balkans, the Aegean, and the Levant. In short, the idea that displaced Mycenaeans contributed to the sea peoples' reign is well supported, but it also contains gaps and uncertainties. And it is precisely these lingering mysteries that continue to fuel the endless fascination surrounding the sea peoples, a chapter of history that, the deeper we study it, reminds us that some answers may still lie just beyond our reach. In the effort to unravel the true nature of the sea peoples, the second major theory has drawn considerable attention from modern scholars. Could part of the sea peoples' reign be linked to migrating groups from the Balkans, particularly the Dorians, tribes moving southward during a time of crisis? This theory is grounded in a series of observations from both archaeology and modern genetic studies. According to researchers, in the late 13th and 12th centuries BCE, waves of migration from the northern Balkans began moving southward. Archaeological evidence shows that many settlements in the Danube Valley and across the Balkans experienced major upheavals, likely driven by harsh climate shifts, population pressures, or internal conflict. Amid this turmoil, various tribal groups began moving through Macedonia, Thessaly, and into southern Greece, among them the group later known as the Dorians. The arrival of the Dorians in southern Greece coincides closely with the collapse of the Mycenaean cities. This has led some scholars to ask, could a portion of the Dorians, or other Balkan groups, have joined forces with the sea peoples, helping to drive a powerful armed migration across the Mediterranean? Archaeological evidence of intriguing hints. New layers of post-collapse settlements of the Peloponnese include some changes in architecture and technology styles, reflecting the cascading strong enough to definitively prove that Dorians directly participated in the sea peoples, the timing is certainly suggestive. Perhaps most intriguing of all, the rise of ancient DNA researchers added new tools to this investigation. Scientists are now analysing ancient remains from Greece, the Balkans, and Iraq. Preliminary results suggest that during the transition after the Bronze Age collapse, there was an increase in genetic markers linked to volcanic formations within southern Greece and in some coastal communities as well. This raises the possibility that migrating Balkan groups not only entered southern Greece, but that some were joined seaward migrations, part of the sea people's way in so profoundly reshaped the region. Yet, as with all theories, there are important counterpoints. First, the Dorians, according to later Greek tradition, re-established power in southern Greece after the collapse.
Oh, an inspe-
now we've arrived at the Palace of Culture. This was built during the Soviet era. The European House of Culture was built by factory workers after World War II. They made every brick with their own hands, built it for the kids, for music, for gathering, for life. Then the war came. Shells ripped through its walls because the Russians knew if you could kill the culture, the rest might fall easier. But even in war, this place went its force again. In 2022, Ed Sheeran and the Ukrainian band INAANTOK for the music video here, not just for the backdrop, but to send a message. Even after everything, the spirit of this place still speaks and still stands. You can see this place is completely destroyed by artillery and impact. There's a little bit of fire damage up there, but most of this is damage. On the side of the building is all these bullet and shrapnel holes. Guys, this is wild. And the door is open, so in true explorer fashion, I say we just head on inside and hope for the best. See what looks like in here. You can tell this place back in the day was glorious. And look at how, as the moon goes up, it gets more and more sudden, so much more damage. This amazing tower on the floors, really covered up by dust. And this stairway here. And this is all Russian architecture. There's a picture of him staring us down. At least someone's giving some yourselves good, you know? Really watching the stare. Just amazing. I said that I wasn't going to be able to do much urban exploration, but hey, here we are. This is crazy. And up these stairs, we want to be very careful as I walk. So even though this place has been bombed out and burnt, the structure is still very solid. I would imagine they could still salvage this building and restore it. Because it looks like the bones of the building are still strong. Yeah, it's not opening doors further than this. At this point, I think it's going to get dangerous to keep walking into this area. I'm surprised that people come in here. The doors aren't barricaded, and people are allowed to just stroll right into this building. And that's what I think I want to point out about Ukraine is that since I've been here, the general consensus seems to be very open to documenting the world. I think the people generally want the world to see this and not forget what happened here. It was so cold here, guys. And even though I have 5 layers on, I'm still freezing. It's just incredible to be standing in a building like this and just documenting a bombed out building here in Ukraine that was built during the Soviet era. even though this place is completely empty, just being inside of a building like this, under the conditions of why it's abandoned, is absolutely mind-blowing. Leaving the House of Culture, I thought of a way of being able to hold that much memory. How still and it made me realize that work isn't just target lives. It targets the soul of the place, its sense of self, its language, and sound. And speaking of language, as we were driving away, Natalia told me that Ukraine has been pushing out the Russian language from public life, and even banning Russian music. It's something about that just doesn't sit right. What do you guys think? So many people that live in Ukraine are from Russian descent, and a lot of them speak with Russian dialect, I'm sure. What about those people? Are they going to have to change the way that they speak just to be within the limitations of the law? It's not difficult to speak Ukrainian in public places, and even in schools, yes, speak with Russian colleagues or friends, just only. I have so many questions. How do I phrase this? So basically, under the Russian control, everything is regulated. Where you work, what you choose, where you choose to live. Do you think that making such laws as deciding what music you can and cannot listen to in public, that's a little bit along the lines of overreach of government control? Honestly, I think it might be too much because it's like crossing the line of freedom of choice. So when a government starts limiting language can be spoken in public, or what music can play, when it steps in to shape culture and events, it raises a hard question. At what point is that control begin to echo the very thing the flag means? It's not really all going to be kind of sort of discussions because we don't want Ukraine become the same as Russia basically because this is basically happens in Russia. Yeah, that's what I would think is that it sounds very Russian in and of itself to make such a law. But that's just my opinion. That's just my outside point of view. I totally agree. It should be not the same way, so we don't do the same function. Yeah. Alright, so we just arrived at one of the largest car cemeteries. I love how they're not hiding what's going on at all. It's essentially a public demonstration. I mean, this is just a massive mound of cars, all piled up in this parking lot alongside this busy highway. Ukraine is fighting a war of truth as much as territory. Lining these buildings up like this, it's a rebuttal to every lie that says the buildings weren't targeted. The facts are right here. Burned metal, shattered glass, stories cut short. Now what remains isn't just scrap. The way the cars are piled here, burned down, collapsed in on themselves, it feels eerily familiar, like the mass graves scattered across the country. Different form, same grave. Both are witnessing of life, both are shaped by violence, and both are damn sure the past doesn't just disappear. And just like the road, there's another kind of memorial that tells you for me to see it. Yes, movies I've seen in photos, it's not the same as you see it in person. It's so much bigger. To be now we're coming up onto a bridge that Natalia wanted to specifically show me, and she said it has a very tragic story.
So what exactly happened?
As Russian forces pushed toward Kyiv, the town of Irpin became a major front line, and this bridge was a direct path to the capital. With Russian troops closing in, Ukrainian forces were faced with an impossible choice: blow the bridge or let Kyiv fall. It was a tactical move, but it came with a price. The explosion didn't just trap the invaders, it stranded thousands of civilians trying to flee, suddenly with no way out. And when the bridge came down, a new kind of war began. One for survival. People fled on foot, dragging suitcases, carrying what they could. They left behind homes, cars, entire lives. And as they ran for what was left of the crossing, Russian shells came pouring down. At least 8 civilians were killed right there, including a family of 4 caught in the chaos. And that could have been where the story ends, but it wasn't. Because when the world falls apart, some things refuse to go unlimited. Locals, neighbors, strangers grabbed whatever they could with wheels and gas. Old little bands, little hatchbacks, didn't matter. They drove through hell to get people out. And across that broken bridge, Ukrainian soldiers led them, bare hands laying down wooden planks, lifting the weak, the old, the sick, the scared. All of them under fire. And that's the thing about war. It breaks everything. But sometimes it reveals something too. Not just a will to live, but a deep, stubborn refusal to abandon each other. In the end, over 30,000 people made it across. Some crawled, some ran, but alive. The bridge still stands in ruins, twisted and broken, but it held. It bought time. It saved lives. And for a moment, it saved a country.
This is exactly how it looked like. People waiting for Ukrainian soldiers to provide evacuation because, yes, that's it. This is exactly, as you can see, the same angle, the same territory. We can maybe go closer to see this picture. The steel car.
Yeah, I can see that. Wow.
This car. The process of
This car here is that car there. And you think they're probably going to keep it like this?
Yes, as you can see, the area is nice and tidy, and it's like a memorial complex here nowadays because the other part of it is already here, so this one will be just as memorial.
We're in the middle of this village that was occupied by Russia right at the beginning of this war, and a lot of these houses across the street are all abandoned. You can hear construction happening all around us. Hammers, chainsaws in every direction. They're not wasting any time to rebuild this whole area. Okay, so we just got to a small village called RAQUEL. It's right outside of Kyiv, and what's so interesting about this place is that almost 100% of this village was completely destroyed. Every single building in this village was either damaged or demolished. Anything that we see standing is either in disrepair or it's being rebuilt. As we reach the edge of Archaeological, feel it. The air gets heavier, thicker, like the whole town is holding its breath. In every direction, wreckage. a scar on the map. One of the war's ugliest stories. So how long were the Russians stuck in this area? You said that they basically got bored because they couldn't move anywhere because of the resistance.
In general, the entire occupation took place for 30 days. There was insane number of tortures and different other terrible stuff that Russians did to people. There have been many casualties, many civilians been killed and tortured. So eventually, after the occupation, when first Ukrainian militaries and photographers came to the area to capture the consequences, a terrible picture was in front of their eyes. The streets full of killed people, just bodies laying on the ground. Right now, these pictures are still fully available and accessible to find on Google. The first hours of the occupation of Kiev region. Russians did so much violence, which is absolutely not economically comprehensible.
The Ukrainian forces destroyed the European bridge to block Russia's advance from Kyiv. The United States stopped and just turned. Towns like Archaeological became the next target. What followed was almost a month of siege. Russian forces launched airstrikes and artillery attacks, rounding homes with high-powered munitions, FAB-250 bombers, cluster munitions. Apartment blocks collapsed like paper. Entire families were buried in rubble, unreachable. The town was cut off. No power, no water, no way out. And then the darker stories began to surface. Torture, sexual violence, looting, executions. The kind of things people don't like to name, but what their survivors carried with them forever. When the Russians finally withdrew at the end of March, Ukrainian forces entered the town and began recovering what was left. Over 300 bodies were recovered, some buried hastily, others trapped in concrete. Archaeological became more than a single town. It became proof of cruelty, of courage, and of what world looks like when no one's watching. Before the war, Archaeological had close to 13,000 people. Most are gone. Most probably will never come back. And standing here, it's hard not to ask yourself, how the hell does a place like this even begin to rebuild? Almost all the people that we're seeing walking around, these are just residents of the area that more than likely fled and came back afterward.
A big number of people stayed here, and I would say it's less people who immigrated than people who actually stayed here because no one expected the violence, so people were not really running away. And nowadays, it's not a very big number of people living here because this reconstruction only started taking place some months ago.
Yeah, where are they gonna go? Yeah.
And yes, that is why people, most of the people started already new life somewhere abroad. Especially people who go to buildings, there's no way they really coming back. This is one of the bands of graffitis on building which was dismantled and the buildings just looked at this.
So a year after the war first started, Banksy came out here and painted this mural.
This information, it says August 2022.
This is my second Banksy mural that I've seen in real life. So for an entire year, this whole area was just basically left abandoned.
After everything that was reconstructed around here, finally time for this place to wrap itself. The reconstruction of this place really just started in June 2024 and very fast.
Yeah, there's so much work that's already been done. It's just like the other village that we just left. You can hear construction happening basically in every direction. Jackhammers, chainsaws. It smells like diesel from all the equipment that's being operated operated all up and down the streets. And these are all brand new storefronts that are being put in. And it's pretty populated. Like people are moving in fast.
I would say this is because it's kind of lunchtime now.
What do you mean it's lunchtime? It's like 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah, it's sort of can be considered as lunchtime.
Okay, interesting.
Do have some breaks.
I guess.
2 hours. Yeah,
So noon is that? Like noon is always lunch. Wait, what do you mean it's lunch? It's so late in the afternoon. It's almost dark. It's strange walking through these streets because on one side it looks like a temporary building, but just recently this road was lined with bodies. Russian tanks rolled through here, firing bombs, tearing through the town and never asked for a while. And now there's the sound of drills and some gunfire, fresh pavement and some burning. And already this town is learning how to stay here, not just being rebuilt, it's being reclaimed, break by break. Now we're coming up on the city center. You can see even here there's a lot of damage from mortar shells and artillery. There's a lot of damage right here, all on the ground from various battles that were fought right here in the city center. It's just a bad. It's like everyone's trying to process what happened here. We have another Banksy painting right here. What's interesting is all this other art is sort of in the same style as Banksy. Definitely using the same medium and canvas, more or less.
I would mention that all of these paintings, except of the Banksy one, are painted by the same artist.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of just his style.
Yeah, it seems like he's heavily influenced by Banksy. It must be amazing to have your art next to a Banksy. That's insane. And this one over here too, which looks very Banksy. And all these pieces of artwork have been scrapped from buildings that have been demolished. I think it's so cool that they use their resources to save these precious pieces of art. It's hard to imagine that so many of the people that we've seen walking around today were here during the Russian occupation of this town. They just never saw it coming. They never expected the Russians to treat them the way that they did. These are war crimes. I cannot imagine what these people have lived through. It's so wild that they did this is so close to the city of Kyiv. We're literally right on the outskirts of it. Boarding is the last stop. It feels like the kind of place that stays with you. Not because of the destruction, but because of the fight to come back from it. But there's one more place I need to see for the sun's gone. A place where some of the machines that tore the air ended up. And so now we're walking to this Russian tank cemetery. And you can see that they have it right here on a busy highway to have it out on display for everyone who drives by. Look at this. I mean, guys, this is crazy. I love how they call these cemeteries. This is incredible. This right here is a turret of the tank that's been blown off. Maybe this is the tank that it was on originally. And like I said, it's so interesting that all this is right next to the road. It's more or less a public display of the efforts of the Ukrainian army. And there's a lot of them out here. I mean, this goes on for quite a while in this field. Just lining the road. What makes a place still feel like home after it's been broken through recognition? The entire day has been spent tracing the path of destruction, town after town, Still become the part of our front lives. And somehow our people are still here, making coffee, tending the gardens, rebuilding neighborhoods, and moving bricks like they're holding the whole world together with their bare hands. And maybe they are. When the world burns through a place, takes the homes, the lives, the stories, it's not the behind that tells you more than what the world ever could. They're not just surviving this thing. They're staring in the face, refusing to give up on the life they still believe in and still fight for. While it is an act of love for what this place means to them. And I guess that's home. It's getting late, the temperature's dropping. Time to head back to Kiev and get some sleep. What little you can get with the air walls and constant blackouts. Even the city can't stop this war. Now it's time to say goodbye to Natalia. And from here on out, I'll be finishing this journey on my own. Well, this is nice. It's just like that, all the things must come to an end. We gotta So here's the thing. I'm gonna head 250 miles east to Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. Now, this place is still an active war zone, and it's about as close to the front line as I can get. Bombs go off daily. Bombings and drone attacks are still ongoing, and yes, people are still dying there. But yet, somehow, life continues. People still up in the shop. They sweep the floors, take their kids to school when they can, and fix the same shattered window for a third time this month. Because it's home, and they've decided they need it. But I'm not going to chase bombs. I'm going because I need to see the people still living under them. See you, Archaeological. About 800,000 years ago, I was around it. A gigantic asteroid soared through space and plummeted toward Earth. It slammed into our planet with enormous force. It blanketed 10% of Earth with shiny black and green lumps of rocky debris known as tektites. Tektites are pieces of rock that get liquid. He walked into the shop, and everything smelled like old wood.
No, this is not Uncle Watt. We have less than 8,000 year-round residents in this 1,000 square miles that we have to. Would you make my first family and say share the post of the funeral? How about this, honey? Well, facial this is going to be redone. $27 million. And like I said, big fight for that ourselves. There's 5 big water on this street. We waited for that.
This is a collect. And that's it. You can't take it. I gotta hit the road.
Hello, Mr. Carnegie. I'm returning to the beautiful Four Corners region. Welcome to the 13th.
Welcome to a giant population of hiking, mountaineering, and outdoor-related. After
Today, we're beginning a surge into one of the most dangerous patches of
The last survivor of the mountaineering disaster that killed 11 people has been rescued by helicopter from eight.
it opens up into the canyon and you get that view. Where good walking streets. I'm going to show you some hidden spots. I love the water. This is a huge privilege, a special mission. You don't have to. Welcome to Petra, this magical ancient Levantine city surrounded by the deserts of Jordan. This was a civilization that flourished 2,000 years ago, but then mysteriously collapsed. It was lost to history, and this site was barred to outside visitors. Today, we can explore. I've been given permission to access all areas of this wonder of the world, and you're coming with me, because this is my tour of Petra. Truly, there is nowhere on earth with a more dramatic, memorable approach than Petra. This is the famous secret of what is a dry riverbed that was carved out of the millions of years particularly flash floods tore through here when it rained, as it really did in the desert. And this is the route that the people of Petra decided they wanted everyone to approach their city through. There were other ways in, but they were blocked off. People had to come through here. Apart from security, it was easily monitored that we blocked off as a rather famous city. And so I think they wanted to impress people. water is so essential to storing. None of the water come about this incredible sea. But water kept the city alive, particularly what is over.
Nancy Mills was so humiliated when he failed out his second year at West Point, he couldn't go home to his father. So he went to Texas. Nancy Mills was so humiliated when he failed out of his second year at West Point, he couldn't go home to his father. So he went to Texas. When the city would work out just a few years later, Mills's old West Point classmates petitioned for him to be commissioned as an officer in the Union Army. After serving throughout the war's Western Theater, Captain was sleeping with him, and by mid-June 1876 was one of the most experienced captains in the 3rd U.S. Cavalry Regiment, marching with General George Clinton along Rosebud Creek in southern Montana. The Battle of the Rosebuds had been fought as an intervention into the Great Sioux Wars Battle of the April, which is a shame. The warriors who fought there on both sides certainly didn't see it that way. In reality, the Battle of the Rosebud was a 6-hour-long chess match played by expert warriors in the time of the game. By the spring of 1876, the bands of Dakota and Northern Cheyenne had left their reservations and were planning to remain hostile. This meant the responsibility of handling them transferred to the U.S. Army, and Commander Philip Sheridan advised them to use them. The first expedition against the hostiles came in March, when Brigadier General George Clinton led a force through the High River country to attack the Cheyenne village. This debacle definitely deserves some credit. Now just know that it went so badly for the Army that it ended with General Clinton orders to some of the officers. George Clinton graduated near the bottom of his class at West Point. As a young officer, Clinton got assigned along the California Oregon border where he cut his teeth fighting against the Pit River Indians. They were known as native arrow buried itself 2 inches under its right hip. The arrowhead itself was never removed. During the Civil War, Clinton served in the Western Theater and found himself back after that second war. By 1875, he was widely regarded as one of this country's most experienced Indian fighters and was selected to command the Department of Flag. When his old West Point classmate Philip Sheridan developed a plan to fight hostiles, Clinton mobilized almost every unit under his command. Clinton was integral and certain. While no campaign during the war anything other than simply a coat and hat with his beard separated into 2 braids. The guy just wasn't tall. For example, check out how he described his wedding as autobiography. I was married on August 27, 1865. One of the officers serving in the room, probably no officer of equal rank or authority issued fewer orders or letters of instruction. Example, he said, is always the best general. It's a nice way to put it. Another officer was not so nice. It was said that General Cook was a cold, gray-eyed, and somewhat cold-blooded warrior, treating his men cops to be practically war. By the end of May, Cook was moving with 15 troops from the 2nd and 3rd U.S. Cavalry, 5 infantry companies from the 4th and 9th regiments, over 1,000 soldiers, plus over 100 wagons and almost 1,000 mules of plus supplies. Cook's column, officially named for the Bighorn and Yellowstone expedition, is the largest that carries 3 columns moving to fight hostiles. What Cook didn't have, and really wanted, was alliance. Cook knew that Esquimalt fighting teams was with other Indians. After all, they are the experts. Why would you leverage the people who lived in this area for generations and legit have beef with the people who get ready to fight? So he sent his 3 best guys, Frank Blood, Louis Bouchard, and Baptiste Created, to fight the Dakota and Cheyenne's enemies and convince them to join his outfit. These men made Cook's column to ride for miles, appealing to the Crow and Shoshone tribes of the area to fight the hated Dakota and Cheyenne. After days of riding, the scouts returned from their allies. There was another problem. When the Crow and Shoshone attempted to look up the Cook on the river, one of the scouts guarding the camp answers them in the Dakota dialect. Spooky for Cook. They think the whole thing's a trap, and now the war has to be convinced them all over again. Finally, June 14th, Cook makes contact with 175 Crow and 86 Shoshone warriors along the Shoshone line. The Shoshone are led by legendary Chief Washington, who at this point might be well into his 70s. He's still as much a ruthless road race as ever. They do their training and warriors in the cavalry. After a brief welcome ceremony, the Shoshone warrior moved out high fives, which impresses the officers. While Cook's guys were out recruiting his allies, his cause marching was tedious and brutal. The soldiers got hit with a horrible June snowstorm, and without their best guides, they got marching up the long street getting briefly lost. There was also an issue with one of the teamsters driving the cars. He turned out to be a sheep. Martha Jane Campbell, one of the prosecutors who worked in Capitol's host on the theft. While she was being arrested, and as Mills passed by, she yells, "There's Colonel Mills, he knows you." Mills, who's married, looked off like, "Yeah, I don't know her. All I know is she's one of the other officers I saw in Chicago when I was a kid. I was on the captain involved, too." Years later, remember, for several days, my particular friends pulled me aside and asked me, "Who's Calamity Jane?" I, of course, did not even know of her or the following, but nobody believed me then, and I doubt very much that they all do now. Calamity Jane was sent back to the colony, and just a few weeks later ends up in Babylon, South Dakota.
Jim, they want you back. I'm pulling the wood out of the wood on my camp. If I was you, I'd stop calling it. I wouldn't try to stop it. Be brief. Beef!
No beach. The lots of soldiers at a different type of action, but it turned out they finally did it to us. Little Hawk, a mighty warrior, music versus warriors, finds the expedition's camp. The group of Lakota fired earthquakes camp, and Cook sends his cavalry after the warriors without success. It's a minor skirmish, but it's important. You have to remember, many of the veterans of this campaign marched from the east, once the campaign to liberate our civilians, now finding them. In fact, the hostiles will be able to come kill this time. They're going to use a wild goose chase. So you guys come on. After Cook's attack with the Crow Shoshone on June 14th, he develops his battle plan. The hostiles' main village is moving the ball switch to Cook's, probably more than 50 miles away. Cook knows that if you control the village's non-combatants, it will ensure the reception. You can take the fight out of the warriors. The division is a late monsoon, and it is his command to strip down the common. Every soldier will bring with them with 100 rounds of ammo, a blanket, enough food for 4 days, and a bunk in the house. The wagon train, even the soldiers' tents, will never be left behind. That gives Cook about 96 hours to find and secure the village. Here's the problem, though. A quarter of Cook's soldiers are infantry, and there's just no way they'd be able to keep up with more troops. So Cook orders the out-charged infantry under Alex Chambers, and all his soldiers were cavalry. Everybody that witnessed what happened next universally agrees. It was hilarious. The cavalry officers, the troopers, even the Colonel Shoshone, gave the foot soldiers a crash course on how to ride, and watching the soldiers mount and try to ride their mules is just fantastic. One of Cook's lieutenants remembered, "Using these as their road and many scenes of commanding black people in the Greg Brooklyn said, "I'm not
Hey, all listeners, welcome. Check it out.
Right, so I've actually managed to cross.
long before the coordinates of Egypt, before the totems of
reaction minsan, parehas siya kasi sabi mo already, vice.
The Navy seizes a huge shadow shipment estimated to be worth 10 billion pesos. It was
In the remote reaches of the American Southwest lies a place that defies logic. In the remote reaches of the American Southwest lies a place that defies logic and explanation. A hidden canyon, art masterpiece, art archaeological unique. It holds secrets carved into stone and time. Oh my goodness, what a trees. How do you think things are etched with mysterious structures and intricate craftsmanship that shouldn't exist? And we see here in the place. So who did it? How did they do it? And why are they such a big in this episode, I set out to get you deep into this lost canyon that we call cancer, or at least things. What I find raises even more. listen to the hey, it's like you guys. There's something here that Travis and I at the end I saw this. This is really it's competition. And so looking for these little black, you look at this and see that's it. It's pretty short-term size. It's completely full of storage. Here's the area for you. This is too come up here carefully. Choose this. Yes. These little trees. Those have to be turtle trees. People would say if you want this here's the structure for people on the other side, but I think they need to see. 50 drops in your answer. You see, just walking these raw edges, see if I can see the other side. Please. So I can read, There are unexplained phenomena in structures across the world. Machu Picchu is highly on the tip. It's such a
The world as we know it is on the brink of transformation, not due to geopolitical tensions, but because of a monumental geological event. On the western slope of Petra, between Mascot Hill and Olympic,
and we are going to attack NATO. What nonsense is this? And everyone understands that this is nonsense. Tell me, 5%, 3.5%, plus 1.5%. And this explains the economic and social failures. Of course, the FRG is the leading economy of the European Union. The balance is on the verge of recession. By the way, I still cannot understand why the Federal Republic refused to use Russian energy sources. We supplied Ukraine with energy from other European countries. Ukraine receives transit money from us up to $400 million a year. And Germany, for some reason, refused to receive Russian energy. Why? There was simply no rational explanation. Why? Volkswagen is dying, Porsche is dying, the glass industry is dying, the precious sphere is dying. And food. I would buy a ticket for the evening conductor and will not go. Is that so? This is nonsense. Therefore, if the countries want to increase their budget even more, this is their business, and it will not benefit anyone, and will, of course, create additional risks. Yes, they will. But this is not our decision. This is the decision of the countries. I believe that this is absolutely irrational and pointless, and there are no threats from Russia, of course. This is just nonsense. Yes, Dr. Goodwin said it yesterday. The more incredible a lie is, the sooner they believe it. And someone will probably be willing to believe it. It would be better to deal with saving the automotive industry and increasing their earnings.
my wife studied in Russia at the university. She really wanted to come. We listened to a wonderful concert. It was great. Russia has always paid attention to art and literature throughout history. On the one hand, there is a continuation of cultural and artistic events in Russia. On the other hand, there is a war between Russia and Russia. I would like to talk to you about how this war began. Before that, you signed an agreement with Erdogan, the president of Turkey, on a grain corridor. Last week, Mr. Erdogan called for a peace summit in Turkey. Mr. Zelensky immediately agreed. Mr. Trump said that if Putin goes, I will come. We received a message from the Kremlin that the conditions for this have not yet matured. In this regard, I would like to ask you, do you think the leaders in the court role in resolving this issue? And what conditions should be met so that the leaders can come together and put an end to this conflict? Thank you very much.
As for President Trump's statement, I heard it
Trump said that Putin is not going because I am not there. What is he supposed to do when I am not there? And he is right. In this sense, he is absolutely right. Secondly, he has repeatedly said that if I were president, there would be no war. I think he was right here too. I will tell you why. In one of my last phone conversations with Mr. Biden, I told him that I will not go into details now, of course, we have recorded conversations on this. I told him that there is no need to bring hot conflicts to a head. We need to resolve everything peacefully, and we must force the current leadership of Ukraine to meet the demands of its citizens here in the southeast to put an end to the genocide of the Russian-speaking population, to stop violating human rights, as the previous Human Rights Administration has already said. By the way, I told him again, it seems to you that everything will be resolved so easily now, but it may take some time, and it would be better not to do which I'm pushing the situation towards. I told him this, Mr. Biden. Indeed, if Trump had been president, this conflict might not have arisen. I am allowed to say that. As for meetings at the highest level, you know, I was a participant in the talks in Minsk when we were looking for the principles of peaceful settlement, and we talked for 17 hours straight, all night long. Yes, we agreed on these principles, but they were not fulfilled on the Western side. The former Chancellor said that it was necessary to give time in order to arm Ukraine. But she said it publicly, and no one forced her to do it. The former President of France confirmed the same thing. They said it, you see. It turned out that our so-called Western partners were not going to do anything. We need to find a solution that would not only put an end to today's conflict, but would create conditions for such situations not to be repeated in the long term. When the conflict began, we persuaded the Ukrainian side to reunite this part of Ukraine that had left the Minsk agreements. But they refused to do so. As a result, the armed conflict began. What did we do? You see, I had already told Secretary General Guterres, and I said it publicly. You can argue all you want, you see. You can blame Russia for starting the aggression. But listen to me. You do not need to be an expert in the field of public international law in order to understand what I am going to tell you. A part of the territory of one country has decided to separate itself from the rest of Ukraine. This includes the southeast of Ukraine, Donetsk, and Lugansk. They have decided to separate. Do they have the right to do so, or not? Strictly speaking, the legal framework of international law and the UN Charter, did they have the right to do so? The relevant article talks about the right of the nation to self-determination. I think this is the first one. You see, this is the right of the people to self-determination. This is the first one. No, they didn't. There is a resolution of the UN International Court, according to which this was a precedent created by Kosovo. The UN International Court correctly stated that if a part of the country has decided to separate, it does not have to turn to the central government on this issue. That was it. Donbass has separated. Next. Did we have the right to recognize their independence? We have not recognized them for 8 years, you see. We have put up with them for 8 years and tried to reach an agreement. In the end, they declared their independence. Did we have the right to recognize them? Why not? We recognize them. Having recognized them, we signed an agreement for mutual assistance. Did we have done this? Imagine standing on frozen, desolate. If you were to arrive at sea in the capital city of the Philippines, you face one day straight rocky silhouette as you approach the hidden entrance beneath vast natural they may approach through arcs of dark-blue warships, and the eyes shot into two massive, distinct rusty
Akin,